who the best hitters were that you saw back in the day.
That's really hard. That's really hard. When we get to that question, I'll give you the ideas, but it's really hard because some guys hit a hard ball, some guys hit a sharp ball, some guys hit it straight down, some guys hit it at you and had velocity and would move up. I mean, there's a lot of guys. I played against most of the good hitters, so I know who they were in my year. But being a great hard hitter wasn't the guy that always won the tournament. The guy that was a smart hitter. Jimmy Mingus wasn't the hardest hitter in the world. He hit it good, but he had shots, and he had deception, and he had the second knowledge of knowing where to go. So Jimmy, you know his record, he didn't hit the ball as hard as a lot of guys, but he knew what to do with it. So that's how I got into volleyball, and that's how it got to where the level, and then the rest of it was just a great career with a lot of great guys.
And were there any particular players at that time period that you really looked up to? I mean, obviously Von Hagen, but were there any others from that era that you enjoyed watching and just were blown away by?
I think at the time, this will sound cocky, once I got my AAA with Ron Von Hagen, I wasn't blown away by anybody. In my opinion, and that's to the credit of Ron, I won't give it to myself, it's the credit of Ron, he was the guru of volleyball. Lang was right there with him, obviously, but Ron Von Hagen was the German Superman that I used to hear it in the crowds. Look at him, he's like a German Superman. He doesn't. That was the tag that he got. So playing with him and winning my AAA, there was nobody that was going to, wow me. Now Ronnie Lang kind of did, because I always looked at him like everybody else did. How can this short, fat guy play as well as he was? Well, first of all, he wasn't that fat. Second of all, he wasn't as short as you think. He was almost 6'2", 6'1 and a half, I think. Great conversation with him one day on how he got his wins. But I think the people in my era that I was fascinated with that played really good, you had Ron, and then you had the other Ron. Then you had a host of guys that were in the middle. Butch May was playing then. I think he was just on his way out. Butch played great. There's a host of other guys. Gene Pfluger played good. Bobby Jones played good. I'm trying to think who the other guys were that were in that era. Shamalis, obviously, when he came up, he was extremely good. But there's a guy, Bill M. Wally, and we had a guy named Toshi Toyota. Did you ever hear that name?
Yeah, I've seen some pictures. He had quite the jump on him, didn't he?
It was ridiculous. I played against him with it was Mike Carey in Corona. And we went up against Toshi, and I forget who the other guy was. Usually you play with Danny Patterson. But he'd get to serve, and I'd look at him, and you could tell he was little. But then the minute he jumped, he became huge. He was he was over the net looking down, snapping balls at you. And actually, it took your mind off the game. You're going, you're actually watching this going, well, I got to play this guy, but how's he doing this? And while he's doing it, you're not paying attention to the game. So it took you a little away from it. Kerry was the same way. Mike was a good player. He goes, this is incredible. I said, I think it looks like we can dig him, but we can't. So he was very impressive. He was actually a very nice guy, very impressive volleyball player, good AAA player. And he got his own. So we played in that tournament, and that was where Mike Carey and I were both left-siders. And so Mike says, well, who's going to play the left side? I said, I'll tell you what, let's play this. You play left side, I'll play right side on this side. And when we change sides, I'll play left side, you play right side. So that's how we played the tournament. Nobody ever did. Ron actually came over and said, what are you guys doing? I said, well, we're both left-siders. He goes, well, why don't one of you guys decide? And I said, we can't, because we both like the left side. Ronnie was funny, but Mike and I said, that's the only way we could play. We got third, so we didn't do badly. But, it was just kind of an ironic thing that's how we ended up playing. So a lot of those guys, Bobby Jackson was a good player. Obviously, I won the Manhattan Open with Bobby. He was a good player. And, there was a few other guys. And I think as the era went through, once you got past a little of that time, you got Jimmy Mingus, you got St. John Smith. St. John came along later, but Jimmy and Greg dominated. Greg Lee was a great player, Jimmy, and later came Dane Selznick, and then Hooper and Obradovich. So, you really had a lot of good players. Some people would step in for a short time, like Chris Marlowe. So there was a host of great players. Of course, you had Mike Norman, who had a jump beyond anybody. He was actually scary. He would get so high that he would hit the ball at you, and you couldn't even see it. That was the weirdest experience I remember. They called him Stormin' Norman. He was a little wacky. He got a little weird. I think he had a little something going on in his head because he had the mentality of a soldier, and I'm not sure if he was Special Forces, but I know he was in Vietnam. And
yeah, he was a Green Beret.
He was a Green Beret. Okay, that's true. But he had a jump, I think, honest to God, his jump was way over 40 inches. It was like 42, 40. I mean, it was incredible. Incredible. You actually couldn't dig him. It was impossible. Plus he hit the ball hard. So you had these guys, and then it's just a matter of who you played with and who outlasted them. It was kind of a pretty deep. I actually thought it was pretty deep. In those days, Scott, if you got fourth, you continued to keep a AAA rating. I mean, you got your AAA rating. I don't know if you lost it after 2 years. I forget how it went, but so fourth or better, you were always AAA. And all the good guys, mostly the guys that had stature, would always finish in the top four. Somehow, some way, no matter who they were paired with, they'd finish in the top four. Maybe fifth at the worst, and in an extremely deep tournament, they'd be seventh. So technically, fifth and seventh was AA. But in our books, if you finished fifth or seventh in the Manhattan Open, you were AAA, because it was like 16 to 17 or 18 teams of AAA players, where other tournaments would have like 8. So it was a different competition when you got into the majors, so to speak. And if you could finish in the top 4 consistently, you were definitely in the top echelon. They actually did a rating when you're top players. I don't even know how they did it. Who was number 1, 2, 3, and so on like that. I don't even know how they did that, but that finished. They didn't stay with that much longer. But it was an era of guys that these were great athletes. Steve Sims, Rick Shaw,
Kurt Kilgore?
No, I'll tell you a story about Kurt in a minute. Kurt, gosh darn it, his dad played. Kurt Donaldson. We could talk on this forever. I actually played a tournament with Kurt Donaldson in Hermosa because I couldn't find another player and he asked me to play. And we ended up playing Rick Shaw and Steve Sims, and we beat him to get 4th, and that was Kurt's way of getting his AAA. So he was like me back when I played with Ron. He goes, I got my AAA, and I go, I know. But here's what I'm going to tell you. And I told him exactly what Ron said. I'm thinking, oh, God, I'm sounding like the other guy. But it was fun. Kurt Kilgore could have been one of the hardest hitters all around. He played with a guy named Doug Dunlap. They used to call him the Whip. Dunlap would go up and hit a ball, and it would not go down. It would kind of rise at you like a golf ball. So when you thought you digging it at your knees, it would hit you in your chest. He's the only guy that ever hit a ball like it. Everybody else hit it with topspin. He hit it with underspin, but he was so tall. He was like 6'5".
Did they call him Lurch or something like that?
Lurch.
Maybe that was. I've heard some people maybe make a comment about one of those guys. I thought it was maybe him, but
I remember the name Lurch. I don't know. I don't think it was with him. It could have been, but I think the name that we always got was the Whip.
Okay.
He hit that ball. It was impossible. So here's Bobby Jackson and I in the '73 Manhattan Open, and we're playing these guys in the finals of the winners bracket. And all I can remember is, I don't know who. Oh, I know who we got through. We got through Ted Dodd and Mike Dodd, which we should have probably lost because Bobby threw the holy living out of the ball, and the guy didn't call it. We went on to win the tournament. Win the game. Now we're in the finals of the winners bracket, and all I can remember is I went up underneath the net to get a ball that was going to come over, and Kurt hit it before it went over, and it hit me in the chest so hard it looked like an aspirin tablet coming at me. I couldn't even get I couldn't even get my hands up. It was impossible. And this is how they were playing the whole day. And Bobby and I were looking at each other and go, I don't know how to beat these guys.
Right.
it was a foregone conclusion that we couldn't side out with these guys forever. I mean, they couldn't dig a lot of balls, but they were doing good enough. But we couldn't dig them. I mean, they were virtually, I don't even know if we ever dug a ball. So you'll laugh. This is cute. A guy named Bobby Garcia, who also was a AAA player, but, not of the strongest suit. He was watching the tournament, and he came up and we called timeout, and he goes, "Hey, guys, you're not beating these guys." "Really? You've noticed that too, huh?" And he goes, "Go to the sky ball." I said, "Really? What will that do?" He says, "Well, first of all, they're passing everything you serve them, and they're nailing you with it. So get them a sky ball that'll throw them off a little bit." Sounded like a good idea. Can't lose, because we weren't doing any good the other way. So we went back and we served the sky ball, and we won the game. That totally changed their whole pass set hit, because the guy would pass back there, and instead of being by the net for the set, the guy would be half court trying to set it, and took their hit off just enough to where we could dig it. So I'll give Bobby Garcia the high rise on that one, because he got us into winning the tournament. And then, of course, the rest of it. We went on to play Von Hagen and Gage in the finals. We already got agreement that if we play through it, we're going to play. If we start a game, we're going to finish the game. And we won one game, and then we were on the head of the second game. I forget what the score was, but we were ahead of the second game, and we had the first game. I'm sorry, it was the first game, and I served a couple of smokers, and Ronnie couldn't even see them. It was night. It was black. He couldn't see him, and he stopped. So I'm not playing anymore. And so we all argued, said, no, that's not what we agreed upon. He says, well, I'm not going to play. So everyone was there for about, honest to God, an hour. Bobby Jackson was commissioning on our team, and Von Hagen was commissioning on his team. Gage didn't want to say much. He kind of went along with Ronnie. Charlie Sakeley. It looked like a cluster mess. Nobody could settle on anything, so I just stayed out of it, because I already had Bobby doing the work. Lo and behold, they said, well, we'll call you the next couple of days and decide what we're going to decide. So what do you're going to call us and tell us what you decide? I mean, it's 10-8. What are you going to tell us? If I go back and serve the ball, he's not going to return it. He goes, yeah, but he's not going to play. So we go back. I go all the way back down to San Diego. Bobby goes home. They call us on the weekend, and they go, okay, we've given you the first game because we feel that you would have gotten it anyways, no matter what, which they were right. But we're going to finish the match on this coming Friday. I said, wait a minute. You're telling me that we're not coming back Monday. We're going to go Friday. We're going to give Ronnie Von Hagen and Matt Gage a chance to recoup, regroove, and get all better. And by Friday, we're playing them for the finals of the tournament, which we would have won if we would have stayed out there. Because that's the vote. Well, I was pissed, because I knew that we already, I don't say fluky, but we beat them. Coming back at a guy who's the best in the world, we're not really comfortable coming back. At least I wasn't. So, but that was the way it was. So Bobby and I talked, and I said, okay, I'll meet you down there Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Thinking nobody would be down there. We go down there. There's like 400 or 500 people down there. I don't even know how they found out, because I'd already found out where we were going to play until the middle of the week. He told me on Sunday we were going to play, but he didn't tell me when and where. It was back at the tournament, same court, and at 4 o'clock on Friday. So, wow, okay, great. These people all found out. So now we're down there. We're warming up, and Bobby is walking around like a stick man. I go, Bob, what are you doing? You're not snapping. He goes, I didn't want to tell you this, but I tweaked my neck earlier. I said, oh, you're kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. This is a terrible time. Take 10 aspirin. Do whatever you got to do.
Is that when he played kind of a pickup game with like either Artie Kuvion or Robbie Hudis before your match?
It could have been. I honestly wish I could tell you what it was. I don't know what he did, but whatever he did, I knew that I was angry with him, because how could you even think about doing that when we're playing the tournament? I mean, I was taking a little page out of Ron's book. How could you even consider that? So he's got this tweaked neck, and as it gets a little warmer, it's a little bit better. The other team, fortunately, doesn't know it. And I'm just going, well, we're dead. Well, let's go out and play. So we went up to play, and they beat us, I think they beat us 12-2 or 11-2. It was a slaughter. So needless to say, we go back, and now we're playing the third out of 2 out of 3 to 11. And I'm pretty convinced by that point that we're screwed. So we went out and played, and Bobby got warmer. The game got tighter. And they beat us again, 11-8. Okay. So now we have to go 1-15 because we had won the winners. They came up and won the losers. Now we have to play 1-15. You follow me?
Yep.
Okay. Because now we've each got a win. We've each got a loss. We've got to go 1 more to 15 to decide the championship, which is kind of good for the Manhattan Open, but bad for us because the longer we went, Bobby's neck wasn't getting any better. So anyways, now we're off to the game of 15. And we were playing, and it was the longest, one of the best matches I've ever had. I mean, I was watching Ron on the other side do what I've seen him do on my side. He was like a cat. Couldn't get him down. Gage hit balls we couldn't dig. Bobby was playing good. I was playing decent. It was just a great match. We tried blocking him, and we got a few points, but they started getting wise to that. Long story, we just kept playing and playing and playing. Finally, we got down, and we had point game. I don't remember what they had, to be honest with you. It could have been 12, 13, it could have been 11. But I remember hitting a ball very deep, and Ron went back and got it, which I still to this day don't know how he got it because it was definitely down. Went and got it and popped it all the way back to the net. This is like nuts. And so I'm down below the net waiting for the ball to come over, and I see Matt poke the ball, and I see his fingers go over. And the referee goes, "You were over, Matt." And just like I was with Ron, we won the tournament. I just jumped up and down. We won the tournament. I think I went crazy. I'm sure I was a banshee right then. We won the tournament.
Who was officiating, and would Von Hagen say?
Was
it Mike Cook?
Yeah, it was Mike Cook. Yeah.
For the Miracosta Mustangs there?
Yeah, nobody argued with Cook. When Cook called it, nobody was going to argue. They were angry. Of course, Matt probably put up a fight, and Ronnie did too because they didn't want to lose. But I clearly saw his hands over, so it wasn't a bad call.
So you're saying, in hindsight, it was absolutely the right call, no 50-50.
Oh, no question. No question. And I think if you went and talked to any of the guys, Matt, Bobby, even Ron, they probably would have agreed. I mean, Ron couldn't see it. Matt didn't want to know that because he felt he did the right thing. But, he doesn't know. I don't think he even argued when I talked to him later because Matt and I became a team later on. We played a lot of games together, matches, tournaments. And so I would always ask him. He goes, "No, I guess I was over. I didn't think I was, but Cook's good." So they succumbed to the fact that's what happened. So there I am, winner of the Manhattan Open. It was like I don't want to use the word Cinderella story because it's been used so much, but honest to God, in my mind, I was sitting there and it just couldn't register with me. We just won not just a tournament, we won the Granddaddy, the Wimbledon, the ball tournaments, the Manhattan Open. It was surreal. I was actually I can't remember now, but I remember looking around at everything. I was going, wow, what, So you win the Manhattan Open. So here's what we got. These were they were sponsored by Volleyball and Wilbur's, which is where I worked as a waiter. We won a pair of sweats, green sweats. By the way, they didn't fit. And we won a dinner at Orville's, which I already worked there. That was our winning. That was it, plus a trophy.
What was the name of the restaurant?
Orville and Wilbur's.
Okay.
It was a great restaurant in Manhattan Beach. I was a waiter there, so I got a dinner at my own restaurant that I worked at, and I got a pair of sweats that never fit me. It was hilarious. That was funny. Today they probably win $50,000 or whatever and get lifetime status, but no, that was just what it was. So it was kind of funny.
Your anniversary for that victory just passed this past weekend too, wasn't it? It was like a late August, the 19th, 20th, somewhere around there, back in '73.
Pretty much. Yeah, they had it this last week. I didn't get down to watch it because I was working, but I read the winners were, Dahlhauser and
Lucena, I think.
Yeah. So it was a good tournament then. But so then they gave out the trophies, and we got that, and then they gave out the sportsmanship award went to Bobby, and then they gave out the most valuable player, and I got it, and I'm sure that wasn't me. I'm sure I didn't deserve it, but I took it. I'm looking at it right now. I'm never going to say I deserved it, but they gave it to me, and I'm looking at it. I'm going, well, you can't take that away. So that was a hell of a fun story. And all these guys that we're talking about, Matt Gage, Toshi, Kurt Kilgore, unfortunate things happened to Kurt that weren't very good. He did a roll and hurt his neck and became paralyzed. But, all these guys were great players. Then there was a host of middle-aged guys in a middle category, like, I don't know if I want to say Rick was middle category, Woody Brooks, a lot of guys that were just okay players, but they were good players, So Skip Allen, Larry, I forget Larry's last name, but a lot of good teams. There was a lot of good teams in our era. At any time, any of these guys could win. So that was one thing that was really good.
I heard Skip Allen could really hit the ball.
Oh God, he could snap it. His partner, what was his name? Larry. They called him Boomer.
Boomer Milliken?
Larry Milliken, yeah. Larry could hit the ball harder than Skip. He had a whip on him that, honest to God, it was abnormal. He would go up and it wouldn't look like he was even up there, and he'd snap the ball, and it was like past you. Skip hit it hard, and you could see it, but it was hard to dig him. But Larry hit a ball, Milliken hit a ball that you couldn't even see it. It was just so quick. So everybody had their own style. Rick Shaw hit a heavy ball. You could see it coming at you, but it was heavy. When it hit you, it was hard to dig it because it moved your whole body. Chamalis, I used to call him one-tup. He'd hit it and go one-tup. It was just like he'd hit it and it'd bounce in the sand up in the air about 20 feet. And you're going, he was impressive in warm-ups. I'm going, this isn't that great. So we had a lot of guys that were really good players. And there were statisticians. I was more of a strategic player. I could hit the ball pretty good, and I could hit it pretty hard. But I wasn't in that category. And when I went up, I had shots. I had a lot of control of the ball. I knew I had some shots that were hard for the other guys to get. But those guys, when they'd hit, you know how it goes, Scott. You can hit the ball as hard as you want, but it may come back at you just as hard. So you had to hit it hard in the right place, like my partner Dennis. He didn't hit it hard, but he could place the ball. It was hard to find him because you always knew it. Cooper was like that. So we had a lot of good guys that could hit the ball, but were maneuverable. Best probably all around was Jimmy Mingus. He could put the ball where you never were. I don't know how he ever did it, really.
He was just one of those guys that was, I've heard his mental toughness, and then I also heard he was one of the best overhand diggers that ever played, too.
Oh, yeah. He dug overhand. Cooper dug overhand. I actually dug overhand because I got really close to the net. I never comfortable put my hands down. Maybe I was afraid of my face getting meshed. So I would always go a little closer to mid-court, staying 3/4 court back, and hold my hands up, and I would dig balls the same way. I could dig it faster because my hands were quick, and I could see it coming at me, so I could overhand dig. But Jimmy was the best. He was good at it. He knew how to cut the court down, so you had to hit a ball over his head if you want to get past him. But of course, you always thought you could hit it harder, and he couldn't dig it. Interesting games, interesting players.
Most importantly, what was that after party like after you won the Manhattan that Friday night?
I wish I could remember.
You're sorry, or else I figured you'd say something like, "We're still partying, we're still celebrating," right?
Well, it was at the middle of my hiatus, I think, playing, because I had retired in '79. I think we all went to. Oh gosh, now it's going to escape me. It was a restaurant that all the bar people went to, right on the corner of the pier, almost the pier.
Shellback?
No, it was across the street. Gosh, I wish I could remember it. But it was the rock and roll party where they went to at every single end of any tournament in that area. That's where they'd go. There was a backyard, there was an inside bar, there was a back end of the bar, and it was hilarious. I mean, it would just be completely inundated with volleyball guys, all the volleyball girls. I mean, I remember going in there, and of course, you got a million good wishes and probably a million beers. And I probably drank way more than I ever should have. But we were celebrating, having a good time. And, then I had to drive down to San Diego the next day. And when I went down to San Diego, you're driving down to San Diego, and it still doesn't hit you. It really doesn't. I remember driving down. I don't know why I remember that, but I remember driving down the coast down by Camp Pendleton, and it was just quiet. And I was driving down thinking, shit, I just won the Manhattan Open. I still couldn't believe it. It was still hard to believe. So when I got back down in San Diego, I got a lot of calls and well wishes, and obviously they had all heard about it, but yeah, it was surreal. I got to be honest, it was surreal. Yes, I'm proud of it. Yes, I have a name out there, but it was just weird. Like, I've got one. Some of these guys got 8. So I don't even know what 8 would feel like, but it's your day in the sun, and Bobby played great. Bobby was a good partner, good friend of mine. And so
you still keep in touch with him, or?
Yeah. We stay in touch. We played every Manhattan Open together, with the exception of maybe one. We took no worse than 4th. We took probably 3/3, 2 4ths, and a win. So every year we played there, we always played 4th or better. We always played really well. And Bobby was a grinder. He was always one of those guys that he would argue. So when he started arguing, I just go sit down, because I knew it was going to be a long one. So I just go sit down, let Bobby do the commissioner stuff, and he'd argue points, he'd argue sand, he'd argue whatever he wanted to argue. He was good at it. And now he's in Arizona, and I stayed in touch with him. I'm going to go out one of these days and play golf with him. But just even talking about it just brings back more smiles. The parties after these games, you got to realize, everybody at the day you play, you're competing. You like the guys, but you want to beat the hell out of them. You go to the party at night, whether it be Manhattan, Santa Barbara, Corona del Mar. Corona del Mar and Santa Barbara were the 2 of the best places for parties. And you would go to these same guys' houses. You knew where you were going to go. All the guys would be there with their girlfriends or wives or just anybody. And it was the happiest time. There was never problems. There was never trouble.
You left it on the court. When you got there, it was all about camaraderie.
Absolutely. Now occasionally there would be a time where someone would still be stinging over the loss,
or a bad call, or so and so. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. Somebody would still be stinging over it, but most of the time it was left out there. I mean, what are you going to do? I think everybody was grown up enough to realize we're having fun. We're not doing this for a living, so let's just enjoy it. So the parties were just as much fun. And I mean, you became friends with these guys for almost for life. We've lost a few, of course, but they were always somebody that you were good friends with, and you always had some sort of a story with. All of them, even guys that didn't play as much, guys that would show up to tournaments, like you've heard the story of Captain Jack, guys like that who were volleyball statisticians. I don't even know how they could remember that stuff. So it was just one common giant family of people, and everybody was cool.